To the latest edition of Brian Lush's Rockwired MONDO MiXTAPE show right here at Rockwired.com. We've got a great show for you today with a very special guest. She is Dr. Tracey Wilen, the very first doctor that we've ever had here at Rockwired. She is a prominent thought leader and speaker on the impact of technology on society, work, and education. We had a great discussion regarding her latest blog, The Career SELFiE. It was a fantastic discussion, and we sort of brought it all back to the business of music making, because no other industry has been impacted more by technology than music. You'll get to hear that interview in just a few minutes, but first some music. Here is Charming Liars with Fingers Crossed. That was Charming Liars with Fingers Crossed. And now I'm pleased to present to you our interview with Dr. Tracey Wilen regarding her new blog, The Career SELFiE. She's a frequent contributor to the Huffington Post, the author of over 11 books, and has been featured prominently in Forbes, CBS News, Fox News, USA Today, and the Wall Street Journal. And now she's here at Rockwired. Here's how the interview went.
Looking at your credentials here, and I'm realizing this is probably the first rock radio podcast you've ever been a guest on.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Sometimes I get contacted by the rock radio to do tech stuff.
I see.
Because a lot of musicians like technology. And I love it because I think the hosts are more interesting. I think, you know, it's a little more casual, I think, than some of the other shows I'm on. So I was excited. I like your website, too. Really nice.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we're coming up on 10 years.
Wow. So who are your listeners typically?
My listeners typically are music industry professionals largely. And a lot of them are about my age, you know, anywhere from 25 to 35. That's the demographic, and it's mostly California, New York, and then the southern states.
Okay.
And we get about 35,000 a month visitors, and then about 48,000 page views a month.
Oh, it's excellent.
Yeah, it all kind of went up after we launched our magazine back in 2012, and that's when it really became serious.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's really excellent.
Well, thank you. And also I read your Career SELFiE blog, and really, I mean, I think about my work all the time. I think about my next move all the time, and I got to really hand it to you. This blog is really, insightful, and in an age when people are taking selfies of themselves and getting into trouble, the Career SELFiE is something I think people can really take advantage of, and it can really help them along, especially with employment being what it is these days. So tell me what inspired the creation of the Career SELFiE.
Well, it was a little bit of, everybody was doing a selfie from Obama to Ellen. It was making a lot of news. And then I guess a TV show is coming out on selfie. And I'm like, people are spending a lot of time taking pictures of themselves, kind of like navel gazing. And maybe they should start thinking about like how they're going to survive, and give that same kind of focus on their careers. And so then I just came up with it. They need a career selfie today.
Right, and you talk about 10 work trends in the digital world. I mean, the working world is so different from what it was when I was starting out. I mean, when I was younger, I imagined a Daily Planet type setting. No, instead I'm working at home.
Exactly. Well, and I think you're bringing up a really good point, because a lot of people are still approaching work in that same way. And they're kind of wondering, why is that younger person or that newer person getting promoted, and why am I not? And they may have not realized, like Rumpelstiltskin, that the world has sort of changed around them, not while they were sleeping, but while they were working. And so I think it's important to highlight to people how to, keep engaged.
Right. And the 10 work trends that you talk about, one of them is contribution. And what do you mean by that? Like,
well, Brian, it used to be that the loyal worker was all, very important to the firm, showing up on time, doing the tasks, performing the job. But today it's just too competitive and businesses are global. And so that's been replaced by really wanting an entrepreneurial employee, someone who takes control of their career, control of their job, and says, what can I do for myself and also the firm today? So it's almost like putting on that CEO hat as you approach your job.
Interesting, because I don't know. I would think as a company, being an entrepreneurial-minded person would be a detriment.
No, so let's look at if you're in the sales department, are there new channels of sales that I can develop? It'll increase your commissions, of course, but it'll also broaden the firm. You're in the marketing department. Oh, how does social media expand our marketing reach? As you mentioned, you have a magazine that really changed the direction of your station. It's looking at, manufacturing. Are there processes that I could deploy that would make everyone's life here much more efficient and easier? So it's really just putting on that hat of the business owner as you approach day-to-day work. And companies really appreciate that because one person just can't do it all anymore. They really need employees to be more involved.
And another thing that you bring up in this blog is the T person, the transdisciplinary person. And that makes a whole lot of sense to me, being in the music industry where, let's face it, $1 is a lot harder to come by in this industry than any other right now. Especially with a band like U2 giving their album away for free. So, I understand that you got to be good at a multiple, at all kinds of things. But explain what you mean by the T person.
Well, you know what? Let's just use your music analogy because I've been reading a lot about how YouTube has become the forum. In fact, 18 to 34-year-olds watch more YouTube than they do TV. And musicians are benefiting from YouTube. I read about a young woman who posts every week a new song on YouTube, and then she was picked up by a major record label. And so why is she a T person? Well, she plays music really well. She creates music. But now she's also broadened it that she understands that YouTube is a new technology that she can use to market her music. So she's much broader now than just a musician. And it really worked out for her. I mean, it's mind-boggling how people are being discovered on YouTube just because they've been able to accrue followers, have a presence.
And one of the things that you really stress in this blog is the personal brand. And I can't tell you how many musicians I've met that don't quite understand it.
Yeah, so, I'll just give you a simple example of going to a hotel. It used to be that, if you made your manager look good to his or her boss, that was, what you needed to do. Today, it's you need to look good because your brand reflects the brand of where you work. So in a hotel, for example, the first person that you meet is probably not the general manager. You'll probably meet the bellboy, then the front reception desk, then the concierge, and then the restaurant personnel. And all of their brands and how they position themselves to you gives you an impression of the hotel. So a musician in the same way needs to think about, am I easy to work with? Will people want to schedule me for concerts or gigs? Am I, not only do I play good music, but am I someone that people want to pick up the phone and call because I'm adaptable and flexible? So I think personal brand is very important, and on the stage and off the stage as well. Let's face it, photos and all of the social media has really created a lot of transparency for people, especially people in the public eye.
And just had a sip of coffee here. Sorry about that. The career selfie. I mean, have you had a chance to really give talks about this already?
Do you know that I just published the blog this week? In fact, it was so long, as you can tell, that I chunked it out. I've already been on the media. I've 10 interviews, and I have more next week because people are getting very excited about it. my speeches are much broader. I talk about how technology really changes society, work, skills, and careers. And then I help people understand different parts of their planning cycle, how important it is to understand that we're at an intersection now where life is moving very fast. It's becoming much more technology oriented, and we have to start taking control of our careers because companies are less engaged with that piece of our career.
I see. And at lectures, I mean, what issues are commonly brought up from, a person in the audience? What concerns do you hear the most?
So a lot of the concerns I hear is that people still think they're supposed to stay at a company for life, and that's valued, And really, when I talk to CEOs, chief operating officers, and recruiters, what they tell me is they would rather have someone who really took upon themselves to do lateral rotations, which is moving around a firm to get more experience and skills, people who raise their hand and say, I'd like to take on a new challenge. Do you have a visible project that I could join, or a cross-functional team? So I think people are thinking if they just sit and wait, longevity will give them promotion. And in reality, what companies are saying is, no, raise your hand. Start to think about different places, where you can contribute. I think a lot of people think that their managers are watching them. And in reality, their managers are trying to survive in their own career. So it's better that people start to think about how to make themselves more visible.
And would that be the all-star individual, or is that something else?
So the all-star individual is, I remember working, and they used to have these, like, you would get a gold star or a spot bonus because you did something unique and special, and you would be highlighted. And today, one person can't do it all. And so what companies are really looking for is really an all-star leader, someone who can lead a team to be that high-performing team. So that everyone on the team gets the gold star. And if you're a B player, that you have leadership skills that you can help the B players become A players. So it's really, we've shifted from individual contribution to team contribution, and we need people who can lead these teams to success.
And forgive me for using Rockwired Media as an example here, but for years I really was the sole contributor, and just within the past year I've brought on 2 other people. And so the idea of the firm is not your family, it's your team, I think is a great point for me. But tell listeners what you mean by that.
Well, a lot of times in the past, I can reflect on my parents joining firms that, that was it. That's where they stayed. The firm took care of them. They trained them. They promoted them. They gave them pensions. They even had their friends, and some people met their spouses through work. It was really a family. They took care of them if they got sick, all of these different facets. Well, now, let's face it, the velocity of people in jobs today for an adult is around 4 years, 4 months. So you're really moving around to different positions in firms. And at the same time, you may outlive your firm. You may outlive, the duration of your manager. So a firm isn't really there to take care of you. It's a two-way exchange now. It's your team player. What are you contributing? What do you gain? What are they contributing? Obviously pay. And what do they gain from it? And how can you both come to a consensus on how you can work together as a team?
For more on Dr. Wilen, check out her official website, TraceyWilen.com.